So welcome to this edition of Bringing the Law to Your Doorstep series. In this particular episode, we'll be talking about the concept of self-sponsorship. And I think it's been making a lot of waves within the context of immigration law and within the practice of immigration law. So I thought it wise to basically analyze the whole concept of self-sponsorship with my wonderful colleague here, Kojo Chumesibuafo. So yes, Kojo, thank you so much for this opportunity. And we hope to be able to do justice in a very brief manner to the concept of self-sponsorship. Yeah. So when we talk about self-sponsorship, I should start by saying that it's not a legal terminology. It's not coined anywhere within the context of our immigration laws or in any other law, but it's just because of the way it functions. That is why it merited the name self-sponsorship. So when we talk about self-sponsorship, we're just talking about the ability of establishing your own business. So whether it's sole proprietorship, whether it's partnership, a company limited by guarantee or shares, as long as you have a legitimate business idea, this particular concept enables you to establish a business within the United Kingdom and also to procure a sponsor license and to sponsor yourself as a skilled worker in the name of your own company. So I'm going to make it as practical as possible. And I should also emphasize that regardless of the business idea you have, whether you are into retail, you are into wholesale, whether you are into carpentry, whatever business idea you have, this concept allows you under UK immigration laws to establish the business legitimately and to also procure a sponsor license and to get sponsored by your own company as a skilled worker in the United Kingdom. So yes, that is briefly what self-sponsorship is. So on this particular subject, I don't know if my colleague Kojo would want to add anything to what the whole concept is about.
I mean, first and foremost, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to weigh in.
Yeah.
You hit everything on the nail. Regarding self-sponsorship, I mean, it's quite a shame that most people do not. It's one of the routes that most people don't explore. They tend to join the wagon of skilled worker visa.
Yeah.
Because they believe that's the easier route to explore.
Yeah.
But self-sponsorship gives them opportunity to establish a business that they can own, that they can be proud of, and also grant them opportunity to sponsor other people as well.
Yeah.
As long as obviously they meet the requirement.
Yeah.
They're able to also impact the communities that they're in, you know, and it gives you that freedom, the autonomy,
Yeah.
To feel free, without having to work for someone else.
Yeah.
So there's that sense of empowerment.
Yeah.
And independence.
Yeah.
And it's achievable. It's not always capital intensive as people would imagine. And that's why I think our sister company comes in.
Yeah.
Compliance 360.
Exactly.
Under niche business. Such organizations are equipped to help people set up businesses, educate them in terms of how to get funding, what we call tendering,
Yeah.
securing government loans.
Yeah.
Some of them ranging from 1 to 5 years, some with interest, some without interest. But it basically empowers them to get funding that is enough to run their own business, you know, and all these opportunities are available. People do not know, you know. So self-sponsorship is a very good tool or route that people can explore aside the common known routes. So thank you again for giving an opportunity to weigh in on that.
Yeah. So I think my colleague here has shed a lot of light on this whole subject of self-sponsorship. And many a times you find, especially students and groups of different people who have moved from different parts of the world into the UK in very despondent situations, because sometimes they are sponsored as skilled workers by companies. And when the sponsor licenses of some of these companies get revoked, they are placed in a very precarious situation.
True.
Because under the context of the law, they literally have that 60-day period to be able to find out what to do, to possibly seek a new employer and to get sponsored under that new employer. Otherwise, at the end of that 60 days, you have no option but to return to wherever it is you came from. But you find out that most of these people had very good businesses back home. They had things they were doing. It would surprise you in the practice of immigration law with the kind of clients that we encounter, how skillful and talented some of them are. And it's quite a problem, I should say, that people don't explore the opportunities of putting their skills and their ability to work anytime they travel outside their home countries. But yes, like we've mentioned, the laws in this country give you the opportunity to be able to continue with that particular ambition and to be able to establish your own business in this country. So if you're a student on a postgraduate visa, and for instance, your visa is about to expire, but you're also looking for opportunities to establish your own business, and you're thinking about how to still remain in the UK, well, the self-sponsorship gives you that kind of opportunity to establish your own business. And incidental to procuring the sponsor license is the opportunity for you to also sponsor yourself as a skilled worker under your own company. So this is a very good opportunity, and we're going to throw more light on it in this particular episode.
I just want to briefly add, at the risk of sounding pedantic, the UK, just like the US, it's a land of opportunity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once you come in, there are fertile grounds to explore in the routes.
Yeah.
People come in for different reasons.
Yeah.
You might not necessarily want to stay here per se, but plans can always change. And so knowing the plethora of routes available that you can take advantage of is always good. Seeking legal advice is always good. Often at times, I mean, even today we had the chance to sit in on some consultation with a few clients, and they always have this preconceived perception that lawyers are in to get their money, or seeking legal advice can be quite expensive. But it's not always the case. I mean, it's always good to know for sure than waiting till last minute when you can use that time. Time is always about the essence. Time is an expensive commodity that you might not always have. So it's always good to be smart, to be better informed. So you have enough time to know how to go about it. So just like what you said, aside the self-sponsorship, which is very, very helpful. I mean, there's the global mobility visa as well, or the innovative visa as well. Yeah. That can help people who already have businesses back home. Mm-hmm. So also set up businesses here in the UK or less in the UK. Obviously it has its own requirements as well. Yeah. As long as you meet it, I mean, you don't have to restrict yourself to just the postgraduate visa and trying to get or secure a skilled worker visa, you know. So it's a case by case scenario, but you have to have the long term goal in mind as well. So once you look at it and it meets your end goal, that's what matters at the end of the day. So that's a little that I wanted to add to the whole conversation as well.
Yes, and that is actually wonderful. And like I mentioned, we're hoping to make this very, very practical so that all our listeners will be able to imbibe the message we are trying to send across. So assuming you want to start a catering business, for instance, if you want to start a food business in the UK and you want to get self-sponsored under the same route, what do you do? What are the steps involved? And in this episode, I'm just going to give you a brief array of the procedural formalities you need to go through to be able to get your business registered legitimately in the UK and to also get yourself sponsored under the business. What are the documents you need to be able to apply for self-sponsorship or to be able to apply for the sponsor license? And on this particular subject, Appendix A of the sponsor license makes it clear. Now, the tables under Appendix A, there is Table 1 to Table 4, and collectively, it has the list of mandatory and supplementary documents that you need to provide in support of your sponsor application. So, depending on the specific type of route, in this particular context, it will be the skilled worker route, but under your business or in the name of the business you've registered. So if you want to sponsor yourself as a skilled worker under a food business or under a catering business, the law provides that you need a minimum of 4 documents, and the mandatory documents should be there. So some of the mandatory documents will include the business bank statement. You need that. If you have to be regulated. For instance, if you are stepping into food business, you need to be regulated. So you would need a food business registration certificate from your local council. If you were to delve into other industries like care, for instance, you need to be regulated by Ofsted or by the CQC, that is the Care Quality Commission. If it were to be a financial business, for instance, you need to be regulated by the FCA, which is the Financial Conduct Authority, or the PRA, the Prudential Regulation Authority. So yes, you have to make sure that you are registered with the correct authority before you are allowed the opportunity to operate your business. So some of these mandatory documents, like I initially mentioned, business bank statement, the proof of business premises, of course, and other documentation from table 1 to table 4 to make up those 4 major documents in support of your sponsor application. Now, once we apply for the sponsor license, at times, some of the companies are lucky. Some of our clients are lucky. You don't have to go through the procedure of a pre-compliance interview. And if that happens, then it makes the process seamless. It becomes very easy to get your sponsor license. However, there are circumstances where the Home Office might require extra information from you. They would want to assess your capability of sponsoring or hiring employees from within the UK and from outside the UK. And when that happens, they can call for what is known as the pre-compliance interview. And when this interview is scheduled, we have competent expertise within Kingscon Law to prepare you very well for the questions that are going to be asked, and of course the best answers to be able to give in preparation for the interview. So yeah, on this particular subject of pre-compliance interview, I think my colleague Kojo would also add some substance to that, because he's been dealing with a lot of clients as well within the context of the pre-compliance interview. So Kojo, yeah, you can comment on the subject as well.
Thank you, Mano. Again, thank you for the opportunity. So naturally, during that period, I mean, once you apply for the sponsorship license, naturally, it should be straightforward. You shouldn't have to do a pre-compliance interview, but there are instances. I think of the Home Office has had a lot of free time on their hands, so they tend to make sure that they ascertain if there's genuineness with the organizational company that's seeking that license. It's important for you to understand that the license is not trying to obtain the license is not a right. It's more of a privilege that Home Office affords you. And so, when you make the application, Home Office can arrange for a pre-compliance interview to try and ascertain if the business is genuinely established. Yeah. Basically, ascertain who the authorizing officer is. Yeah. Authorizing officer is normally a senior most person who works for the organization, and a key personnel of the organization as well. He is responsible for making the application and submitting it. So under the compliance interview, that's where we come in. We tend to want to prepare you, equip you, so you can anticipate the type of questions that Home Office can ask you to ensure that you're better equipped to answer and navigate around, tiptoe around the questions that they're giving you. And to also help you have a better understanding of what is required of you. Because what people don't understand is the sponsorship license it comes with a burden. It comes with a burden in the sense that by getting a license, you are basically attracting global talent. It empowers you to be able to bring in or attract global talent, right? What that means is that you're able to bring in literally anyone from around the world, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, the whole point, the whole essence of the compliance interview is to ascertain genuineness. It's a genuine vacancy that the business is legitimate, yeah, and you have the capacity to pay them as well, yeah, right? And then that's what the compliance officer is trying to ascertain. And there are a series of questions they will ask you, yeah, from recruitment, yeah, ensuring that there's advertisement that you have advertised. Because at the end of the day, you're saying you're your business, you're open to recruiting people, you need labor, you need support. So there has been advertisement by virtue of social media, could be a website of the organization. It's expected that if there's a genuine vacancy, if you have that interviews, if that shortlisting, that they are proof of this. So an example would be interview notes where you screen them to ensure that you are awarding scores or points to ensure that the person is qualified for the job, or you are looking out for the best of the best. Right? And all of these things help drive the point that you are looking for genuine vacancy. There is a vacant position that you are looking to fill. And that's where the whole aspect of the knowing your obligations as a sponsor comes in, right? It's not just enough to get a license. It comes with responsibilities, what we call the reporting duties and the monitoring duties. What does that mean? It means that you need to have an adequate HR system that helps you to monitor the workers, assuming you've got the job. And it's funny enough, when it comes to compliance interview, they expect you to know this before you even start, right? So you haven't got the license yet. You are interviewing for it, or they're screening you to see if you're qualified enough, or you are trustworthy enough to do the job, right? To be entrusted with the license, right?
My colleague here is straight on point. It's spot on. Yes. Like he mentioned, acquiring a sponsor license is not a right. It's a privilege. The law expressly basically makes it clear that yes, it's a privilege and it's not a right. So it's not an entitlement. Yeah. Now, your obligations as a sponsor can be draconian. Okay, from reporting duties to monitoring duties to record keeping duties. They just want to know that you have what it takes. You have the capacity to ensure that you comply with the rules and the regulations and your responsibilities as a sponsor. So he's mentioned wonderful things that the Home Office pays critical attention to. And in addition to that, they want to know if you have a fine appreciation of certain fundamental things like right to work checks. They want to make sure that you understand that before you bring an employee on board, what are your responsibilities? What are your roles? After you've brought them on board, what are the documents you need to retain? Appendix D makes it clear that you need to keep certain documents during the period that the employee works for you. And even after the sponsorship ends with you, you need to retain those documents for up to a year.
Yeah.
For up to a year. Or unless a compliance officer has basically accessed and approved those documents prior to that 1 year period. So yes, it comes with a lot of responsibilities. Your knowledge and your appreciation of what is known as the sponsor management system. And could you say something interesting? And I find it ironic as well that how do I have knowledge about a system I've never dealt with before, about a system I've never been previously engaged with before? But I mean, the law is the law. At times, they want you to have knowledge about the sponsor management system, that when there is a change in the circumstance of the organization, or when there is a change in the circumstance of an employee, what are your duties? What are your responsibilities? What do you do? So they give you practical scenarios. They can give you scenarios from the absenteeism on the part of employees to the change of location on the part of employees. When that happens, what do you do as a sponsor? So they basically analyze and assess your knowledge to be able to make sure that since you are being given this huge responsibility, do you have the capability to be able to handle the position as a sponsor of an organization?
Exactly.
And that is where we come in as King's Cover. Could you mention our sister company Compliance 360? Actually, we are trying to also develop a system software to be able to help employers, manage proper employee databases and to be able to keep them on the know, especially when it comes to the expiry of their visas. We are trying to program system softwares in place to be able to assist employers in ensuring that there is proper navigation and maintenance of employee database. And we are working on all of that so that when you come to King's Condor to seek our services, we present you with a whole package from getting the sponsor license, setting up the business, and from complying with the rules and the regulations, your responsibilities as a sponsor. We basically help you through from the genesis of the whole matter to the end of it, to make sure that you are competent enough to be able to man and run your own business. So yes, that is why we are one of the best law firms out there, if not the best, actually. And my colleague has shed a lot of light on this particular subject. Yeah. So that, I think, will be a very proper and a constructive assessment of the whole pre-compliance interview.
The fortunate thing really is, people will think it's a walk in the park. It really isn't, because lives are at stake and Home Office is aware of the situation. So it's not just for anyone. You need to make sure that if you are setting up a business, it's different if the person works in the UK, but if the person is a foreigner, the person has families to feed, the person is living their life, they are uprooting their lives and moving to an entire new country. So you need to ensure that you understand what you're getting yourself into. You want to ensure that, because you carry a lot of power, right? And with great power comes great responsibility.
Indeed.
And it's a saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so to ensure that you don't abuse it, there are checks and balances, what we call the compliance, where they ensure that you are undertaking to do what you say you're going to do. So ensuring the work within the right hours, ensuring they're getting paid on time, ensure that they follow the conditions attached to their sponsorship, and ensuring that they are working within the right routes that have been prescribed by immigration control. And so that's essentially it, really. But like I said, it's not as easy as it looks. You need legal expertise, because if your license is revoked, if you do not comply with immigration rules, it can be revoked, it can be suspended, or at times it can even be fined or reported to the police.
Can be downgraded as well.
It can be downgraded. Oftentimes downgrading can be a good thing, because there's an option for you to be upgraded at the end. Yeah. So if you're downgraded, you're downgraded to B. If you're upgraded, you're upgraded to A. A is the standard. But the unfortunate thing is, when you're downgraded, you can't issue more COS, you can't bring more people in. But the sad part about suspension, or at times even revocation, and I'll be touching on revocation in particular, is that you basically derail the life of your workers, because now they have 60 days to try and figure out what to do.
We're going to, because the subject is quite interesting and it's of extreme importance. Okay. So to the unversed, we are going to have subsequent episodes where we handle topics like suspension and revocation of sponsor licenses. Some of the things that employers do or fail to do that can potentially lead to the suspension or the revocation of their sponsor licenses. I think we've basically covered more than enough when it comes to self-sponsorship. So yes, this will be the end of the episode, specifically for self-sponsorship, the whole concept of it, and why you shouldn't wait for your current visa to expire, or you shouldn't wait for the 11th hour before you seek expert legal advice. I mean, you don't have to even come to King's Court Law, but at the end of the day, we just want you to know that there are an array of opportunities for you out there to set up your own businesses and to sponsor yourself in the name of your own business. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us in this wonderful episode. And I would like to thank my colleague again, Kojo. I think he's brought some very beautiful insights on this particular topic. So if you have any questions on this particular subject, okay, you can drop it down in the comment section. Yeah. All right. You can, ask any question you want. If you need clarity on any subject, you can drop the questions down, and you can subscribe to this channel so that you can remain apprised about some of the changes in the law and what you basically need to do to be able to successfully navigate your business in the United Kingdom. So all things immigration law, and this is the best channel. This is the place to be. This is the place to be.
To get the right information.
Yeah, we are right here for you, and we'll be feeding you with the absolute best and quality information to also keep you abreast with some of these things in the law. So thank you very much once again.
And if there are any other questions, like any topics that you want us to touch on, you can also leave in the comment section.
Indeed.
And we'll do well to touch on that.
To touch on that as well. Okay. Bye.
Ciao.
Cheers.